It's very rare we bring a guest on first segment.
But it's necessary.
But it is necessary because of the exciting news that broke out both Friday, and was it yesterday or Saturday?
We had Saturday news. We had Sunday news.
It was Friday night.
We had news Friday night.
Well, Friday night, the first commit came in from Kevin Maurice, and then we got news that defensive tackle prospect Maliek Collins committed to Nebraska. So we are bringing on Bryan Munson of Big Red Report, BigRedReport.com, on the Hardee's hotline. Bryan, you are in rare air right here. We don't usually have guests in the first segment, so feel special.
I'm feeling very special right now.
So tell us, let's start with Maliek Collins, because at least in terms of the impression that he has given to some people, he is probably the bigger of the two recruits at this point. Maliek Collins, tell us a little bit about him and why this is a big pickup for Nebraska.
Well, I think Maliek Collins is a guy whose stars a little bit on the rise. Nebraska offered mid-November after a very strong senior season. Iowa recently offered as well. I like him because you watch his film, and actually, he and Maurice have very similar builds. I like those 6'3" guys that are 280, 285 pounds and look like a refrigerator. They've got a very square, rectangular shape to them, and they're not too top heavy, they're not too bottom heavy. They're just thick all the way through, and both of these guys really are. They both look very similar to me in build. But with Maliek, what you get there is, I think you get a little bit better of an athlete. He's a wrestler, so he's able to understand leverage. And I think that's one of the things when you start talking about guys that are going to go from, maybe a level of high school football that some might put as being questionable. If you get a guy, though, that understands leverage and what leverage means when it comes to college football, they're a step ahead of everybody else at that point. I think that's a very strong skill set for Maliek, although I would put both these guys in the same category as not being instant impact guys. I think these are guys you got to wait on for a year or two before they see the field.
The thing I liked about Collins was how explosive he was, not just on the defensive side of the ball. When he's playing right tackle, he was destroying guys across from him, 20 yards down the field. Every time the guy ended up on the ground. Seems like he's got a pretty good nasty streak as well.
I watched both of their films, and I sat there and I was like, who? And the offensive side was really the one, the name that popped out to me watching both of them, because I also think Maurice was a strong-looking guard. Jermaine West, down here from Texas, back in the day, his high school film was laughable. I mean, he just took guys and drove them 15 yards back and then planted them in the ground. And that's kind of the same thing that I saw from those guys. They're strong, they're quick, they're athletic. If they get their hands into you, they were just done. You were just done. And I think that these are also guys. When you bring that up, Michael, it's if the defensive tackle position turns out that they do get a junior college guy in the next 3 weeks, and they have more of an instant impact guy, but then they say, well, we have a hole at guard. Maybe you could figure in a guard to be a little bit easier transition for him, or a little bit easier for position for him to get ready for, and we need somebody there. I think either one of those guys could stand out or could play on both sides of the football potentially.
Bryan Munson, BigRedReport.com, joining us on the Hardee's hotline, talking about the two newest commits for Nebraska. Does this end the recruiting at defensive tackle, or do you think Nebraska's still going after that quick fix?
Well, I think that they could still try to find that JUCO guy. I mean, I think that they're probably not standing there waiting to take anything that's coming down the pipe. But I think that if they found a guy that they really felt like they could plug in, and he's gonna be a solution guy and an immediate guy that can get on the football field and come in June and be ready to go in August, they're going to take a guy like that, I feel. But these two guys right here to round out the class, I mean, defensive tackle next season is going to be a struggle. Let's be honest. It's the way that things finish up for that team. But when you start talking about a year from now or 2 years from now, at least you have these guys coming up through it that you can look forward to. But I think that Nebraska needs to find that guy that's kind of a stopgap, the guy that's going to make up some of the recruiting misses that they had, particularly from the 2010 class, where they're finding a guy that can get on the field immediately next to Thad Randalls and the Chase Romes of the world.
Bryan Munson, BigRedReport.com. Bryan, thanks a lot for the quick updates on these two, and I'm sure we will be talking again before signing day.
All right, guys. Always a good time to have a chance to talk to you.
You bet.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Bryan Munson, Big Red Report, BigRedReport.com on the latest 2 commits to the Nebraska program.
He said he doesn't think Nebraska's going to take anybody. Kevin Maurice is, I don't know. I mean, you watch his film, and film doesn't tell the whole story, but doesn't look explosive, looks out of shape. I mean, most of his videos at guard, he didn't dominate at guard in his video. Slow off the ball. I don't know. I mean, it seems like, that was a reach. We need a guy who can play defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. We were at his school. Let's just, offer him. They take him. I don't care about his star rating or any of that stuff. He doesn't look athletic to me. On the other hand, Maliek Collins looks amazingly athletic. You can put him at tackle. You can put him at guard. And I think at defensive tackle, he's going to make a difference. What he could do, again, it's high school film against whatever competition he played against in Kansas City. All I can judge him on is what he looks like against the next guy, and he's explosive.
Join Gary and Damon tomorrow for their show.